Hello world, welcome to this video about how to get top marks in your next essay or assignment or even school project, because I'm going to touch on that as well. It's about the time of year where people have got back the results of their first assignment if they've just started a new course, and you might be wondering why you did so well or conversely didn't do so well. So what I'd encourage you to do in this video, have a look at your own essays to see what you have included from here and what you haven't, what you've done well, what you haven't done quite so well. And although my examples are going to come from a couple of photography essays that I've just written, I am actually quite an intellectual person. I do actually have 2 degrees, one in music, one in RE, and I've also been a teacher for 25 years. I'm not teaching now, but I was teaching then, and I've been a teacher for about 25 years. And so I know what I want and what I don't want to receive from students, and I also know how to deliver as well. So it's actually worth sort of following along. Okay, so start off with some school projects. If you're 10 or 11, you're probably going to be given a school project to do about this time of year, and it really starts here. So if you are thinking, oh, I'm going to go to college or university, do my A-levels, do a degree, whatever, it starts with good practice right from day one, okay? So I would start off with the real basics, okay? Pens and pencils, okay? Use the same thing to write with as you would be expected to write if you were doing that work in school. So we don't want to see felt tips, eye makeup, lipstick, anything like that. You know, it's a piece of work, it's a piece of intellectual work that you're doing. Take it seriously, use the right equipment. And if you're going to type it, which is perfectly feasible on your computer at home, then make sure that somebody else checks it for spelling mistakes and for errors, things like too many spaces. I know that's what children do when they start typing things. So get a grown-up's helping. Handwriting should always be your best handwriting. It should be the handwriting that you are expected to do at school. If you're going to get told off for it in school, then you're going to get told off if you do that at home. So same writing, same handwriting style. And things like underlining your titles, using a ruler for straight lines and all that sort of thing, they all apply, okay, so that you're actually giving in your best piece of work. Okay, so those are the basics of doing a school project. This is absolutely key. I would be rich if I had £1 for every single person that has given me a piece of work that they've copied from somewhere, from another book, and I don't want that as a teacher, or as a was teacher. I really don't want that, because it doesn't show me anything that you know, okay? The same with drawings. I don't want to see Google images. I can go on Google and I can get those things, okay? So I want to see what you know, preferably from your own experience. If your project's on the River Thames, have you been there? Is there a photograph of you there? You can put in your own photographs, your own diagrams. I want to know in your own words. And I also want to know where you've information, because although I'm saying write in your own words, it doesn't mean that you can't read up about it first. So read up about it and then explain what you've read in your own sentences and drawings, and preferably look at 2 or 3 books so that you get a good kind of overall view of your topic and a good understanding of it. Then write your own sentences, do your own drawings. And I'm putting here bibliography. That's a very posh word. That basically means it's a list of all the books you referred to, and that basically should be included with your work. So even if you've made a PowerPoint or made a model, there should be a piece of writing that goes with it to explain about it, and you should write at the end of it a list of the books and their authors that you used, and that will get you into good practice for when you're older and you have to write more formal essays, okay, such as for your GCSEs and A-levels. Plagiarism. What's plagiarism? It's stealing, basically. It's basically copying someone else's work and saying that it's yours. You might not be as blatant as that. I wrote this piece in 2015 and then quote somebody else and write all their own work. But it's still stealing. It's still stealing. You have to say, if you've used someone else's work, you have to say, okay? And again, it's not what you know, it's what they know. Okay, so if you've just copied out from the Encyclopedia Britannica about the Great Plague, for example, telling me what the Encyclopedia Britannica knows, I can use Google, I can type in a sentence, the first sentence that you've written, and I can tell you where it's come from. And that's not fair. It's not fair on the person that wrote that article in Encyclopedia Britannica about the Great Plague. It's not fair to you either, because it's not you getting a working knowledge using your own sentences, your own diagrams, your own drawings to say what you found out. There are heavy penalties for plagiarism. Nowadays, this graduate course in photography at the moment, every time I hand in an assignment, I have to tick a box online, because you do it all online nowadays, to say that if the work isn't mine, they'll hang me up from a washing line by my big toes. Okay? You can get thrown off your course. Seriously. Do not steal. Do not copy other people's work and say that it's your own. However, on the other hand, you do need to say what other respected professionals have to say about the subject you're talking about. So it's getting a balance here, okay? You're not quoting someone verbatim throughout the whole of your essay, but there might be the odd sentence that an author has said. There might be a paragraph that a professional has said that you want to refer to. There may even be a video that you've referred to. You need to actually say, and this is where your bibliography comes in. This is the list of books and other sources that you've gone to get your information. It shows that you've done some research. You must quote other authors. You must, because otherwise your tutor is going to think that you have just got it all from the top of your head. It's not plagiarism as long as you say where it's come from. Always give credit. Whenever you quote somebody else, you must always give credit. And universities will have their preferred referencing system. You need to find out what that is, okay? I have never done an essay in the UK where they haven't wanted me to quote in the Harvard style. So that's the style that I'll be using for my examples. But if you do a different style, then you need to quote in that style, okay? But Harvard is the most widely used one. Okay, so here's some referencing within the text. So here I've got a quotation mark. Here, this is what this man, Tony Northrup, has said. It comes from his book, Stunning Digital Photography. But I'm not going to write that in the middle of my essay. So I'm just going to put in brackets his surname and the year that he wrote that. And that's enough. Okay, so put what they said, the camera settings that determine the digital camera sensitivity and how much light it will capture, brackets, the author and the year. If you're quoting more than just half a sentence, a paragraph, it's indented, it's a smaller font, and again in brackets afterwards you put the author and the year. I chose this paragraph very carefully, and the reason why is because I agree with what he says here. I slightly disagree, not completely, but I slightly disagree with what he said here. No, that's wrong. I disagree with what he says here. I agree with what he says here. Shows how carefully I chose that paragraph, doesn't it? But anyway, I chose that really carefully because I'm going to go on and talk about it. Okay, I'm back to agreeing and disagreeing a bit later on. But if you're quoting a paragraph, indent it, smaller font, brackets, author. I've got some dots here, an ellipsis. It's correct to only use 3 dots, by the way, not 10. And that's because I skipped a few sentences and then carried on typing what he says here. Because you don't want to quote too much of people, just enough to show that you've done the research. Okay? All this other stuff is mine. It's my own sentence. At the end, you need to put that bibliography, that list of books you wrote. Now, there's a website called Cite This For Me, which I've put down the bottom there. Just type that in, all one word. And basically, it will give you, in the chosen style, e.g. Harvard, how to quote that at the end, and it will make your bibliography for you. So, before you write your essay, everything that you read in preparation for the essay, every video that you watch in preparation for the essay, just type the name of the book or the URL of the website into Cite This For Me, and they will gradually compile this bibliography. It really wasn't many years ago that people had to do this by themselves. So this makes it an awful lot easier, but it has to be done in this style. If it's not, then you will be penalised for it. You'll lose marks in your essay. Okay? So how do you structure your essay? How do you write a coherent account that takes into account your point of view and the points of view of people who agree and the people who disagree with you? This is really important. Okay, so you're going to state your argument first, and you're going to do that with reference to the title of your essay. Just do it briefly and concisely. And here I'm talking about essays of maybe 2,000 words, 5,000 words. And you'll have to kind of adjust how much sort of weight you give to different things accordingly. Normally, people find that they say too much. So it is worth planning it. Okay, so what's your argument in reference to the title of the essay? This is the thing that you agree with and what you're going to say about it. Find respected professional writers, authors, in my case, photographers, who agree with you, who agree with what you're going to say. Use them, quote them. I've put here cheat. I don't really mean absolute cheat, but it is a bit unrealistic if you're doing your essay on, you know, the sociology of Karl Marx, for instance. It might be a bit much to expect that you've read 5 or 6 works relating to Karl Marx, for example. And so you need to sort of skim and scan your books, find the relevant chapters, find the relevant pages. If everything that you quote is only ever from page 6, how does your tutor know that you've delved further into the book? So in your bibliography, you'll notice that you can actually give the pages that you referred to. Whenever you quote someone, you must always have the pages as well. Try and sort of have page 58 and page 242 as well from something else, to show that you have actually gone into it and researched a bit more, even if you haven't actually read a whole 248 pages until you get to that quote. But it does look good to sort of quote from within the book and not just the first few pages. And again, you've got to say why you're making that argument. What's the reason why you're making that argument? And if you can do it from your own experience, then all the better. So with my photography, I can obviously use my photographs, but in this video I'm also going to talk about an essay I wrote about spirituality and pop music, which I actually read out somewhere on YouTube, so you can find it. But in that essay, I used songs which meant something spiritually to me, for example. So always, you know, choose examples that you've actually worked with. When I was writing my music essays, I would choose pieces that I'd learnt to play on the piano, or was learning to play on the piano, to reinforce what I was saying. And it gives it some kind of, I don't know, some sort of form of truth and integrity to the thing, because you're talking about something that's engaging you. It's really important. So here, this is how I'm going to state that I agree with someone. Okay, so defined as, here's Northrup's sentence about it. Now I'm elaborating. Okay, this was a very short essay that I had to write for my photography thing. I probably wrote too much, but you know. But so I'm now telling you what those camera settings are. So I'm going back to his quote and saying a bit more about it. Okay, so that's a basic kind of way of agreeing. The likely consequences of ignoring. To set the camera to automatic is to deny the photographic benefits. So in other words, your photographs will be more creative if you follow Northrop, and by inference me as well. Prove it. I will explore through my own photographs. Yeah? So, say, this is my work. You know? It's not a crime. Because all the time you're backing yourself up with people who agree with what you're doing, and you've got the proof there. Here's something they said. This is what happens if you don't. Here's some proof. Part of a good structure of an essay as well is to find people who disagree and quote those as well. So again, it depends on how long your essay is, but I would find at least 3 people who back you up. In the essay that I've been using so far as an example, I chose Tony Northrup, Susan Hilliard and Patrick Litchfield as people who agreed with me. It wasn't really appropriate to find people who disagreed with me, but in a more formal essay, this is what you will be expected to do. Okay, so to find, maybe, if you've got 3 people who agree with you, find 2 who disagree and quote what they say. Say why you disagree with them. No, don't. Say why they disagree with your 3 that you agree with. What's different about their argument to the argument that you've been quoting so far? Quote them. And a good respectful way, because you're not going to slam people. These are, even if you disagree with them, these are respected professionals that you are quoting here. Give them their due, give them their worth. So this is, a good way of perhaps putting it in a sentence. Okay, so you've maybe said something about Professor Yaffle in the paragraph before. Whilst he's correct in saying that, and again, put in their little quote, reference them, Yaffle, written in 1864, he ignores the fact that. And that's, sentences like that show that you can actually discuss an argument and say, yeah, they might be right in this, but this is quite a big oversight that they've not looked into. And then pitch them against the people who agree with you. Okay, and if you can, maybe find a different quote that says the same thing as what they're saying, maybe from a different book or something like that, or from a website, something like that, that backs you up and backs up all the quotes that you've included previously. You need to sum up to finish your essay, okay? Because now we're at the end. Didn't take long, did it? And it was quite fun, really. It is fun. It is fun because you get to put your opinion across, but you must always remember to back up that opinion with people who agree with it and people who don't. Refer to both sides of the argument in your summing up. This was probably the best summing up I did. And this was in my spirituality and pop essay that I wrote. This got me an A, by the way, possibly even an A+. There are a number of factors common to my selected examples of popular music. My own experience. I chose the music. This is coming from my background. Yeah? They express desire for acceptance and love, and the need to accept and love. This yearning is identified by ideas of Ignatius and Tillich. Now, I've quoted Ignatius and Tillich as people who I agree with on a spiritual kind of basis, empathise with them. The desire for transformation is also evident, and bound with this is the need to accept ourselves and therefore our musical culture, warts and all, as essentially good but in need of redemption. Llewellyn and Stewart, who I've also talked about, in the main body of the work. Here I am reminding you why I disagree with them. They acknowledge the broken and rebellious, but appear to dismiss the value that the positive and negative sentiments in the songs may hold for listeners travelling their life journeys. So, my experience, again, why I agree, why I disagree, summed up nicely. And finally, you'll have noticed at the bottom of there, I talk about the word count. Whenever you quote a paragraph of someone, like my paragraph about Northrop, for example, that does not count as your words. Neither does the title. And where you've said Yaffle 1864, that doesn't count as a word either, if you've put it in brackets, okay? And that can actually quite help you, because as I say, most people end up writing too much and it's difficult to cut it down, okay? You must put your word count at the end, okay? There are tools in Pages and Word that will help you. There is such a thing as an appendix, which you might or might not use at the end of an essay. In my pop music essay, I used an appendix to photocopy some examples of sheet music which I had annotated to prove the points that I was making, but the essay could be read without necessarily anyone ever looking at that appendix, but it's just showing the work I'm doing. It's too much to go in the main body of the essay, but it's still vaguely relevant, and therefore it goes into an appendix. So you can't shove too much into them, okay? So as I say, it's too long for the main body. It doesn't count in your word count, and the essay will make sense without an appendix. And that really is all there is to it. I hope that people have found this useful. I hope that less teachers get handed in something that people have just blatantly copied and Googled photographs from. I hope that you, as adults, get better results in your essays. And good luck with your studies. Bye.